You've obviously got really great taste by clicking this video. I'm going to show you how to make my Nonna's authentic tiramisu recipe. Let's get into it.
We'll start by separating 3 eggs. There's no rising agent in this recipe, so the eggs do all the heavy lifting. If you do happen to get any yolk or shell in your egg whites, you can use the leftover half of your shell to scoop it out. The yolk or shell automatically attracts to the inside of the eggshell. If you have any yolk in your egg whites, they won't whip up.
Preheat your oven to 175 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. If you have a fan option, make sure to turn it off for this recipe.
We're going to whip up our egg yolks. This recipe needs 100 grams, half a cup of sugar. Add half of this amount to your egg yolks. And you can do this with a stand mixer, electric beaters, or with a whisk. When they're ready, your egg yolks will become a really pale yellow color and they'll have at least doubled, if not tripled in size. Add in 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of vanilla extract. It's time to sift in our flour, 1 1/4 cups or 148 grams of plain or all-purpose flour. I'm sifting mine because it's a little bit lumpy, but if your flour is nice and smooth, just go ahead and add it in. You'll want to start mixing the flour in really gently, and then once it's mostly incorporated, we'll finish it off with the spatula. Scrape down the sides and the bottom of your bowl and make sure to get all of that flour mixed in, because once we add the egg whites, we don't want to overmix it. Set the mixture aside and we'll start whipping up our egg whites. Once the egg whites start to get a little bit foamy, add in the rest of your sugar. I like to add it slowly so that it has time to incorporate into the egg whites. And finally, add in a pinch of salt. You want to whip your egg whites to stiff peaks. The mixture will go glossy, and when you pull your whisk out, you'll get a nice point at the end. Time for our sacrificial egg whites. You'll use 1/4 of the egg whites that you've whipped up to mix into the dough just to lighten it up a little bit. They're sacrificial because we're not worried about keeping the air in the egg whites at this stage. Really just work the egg whites into the dough. You can see the mixture has lightened considerably, so it's time to add in the rest of our egg whites. Now you want to be a little bit more gentle and fold those egg whites into the dough mixture. Once it's mostly come together with the folding, give it a few beats around the bowl. This will make sure everything is really well incorporated. Now time is of the essence. Because the eggs are the only rising agent in this recipe, you want to get them immediately into a piping bag and piped onto your baking tray. I'm using a large round tip and quite a large piping bag as well. Give it a little squeeze to get any air bubbles out of your mixture. I've used a little bit of the mixture underneath my parchment paper to hold it in place on the baking tray. Whenever you're piping a wet batter like this one, this is a great tip to make sure the parchment paper stays put. I'm piping my Savoiardi into 3-inch logs. Now here's a really important step to making sure your Savoiardi rise up. Liberally dust the top of your biscuits with powdered or icing sugar. You're going to let that set for about 10 seconds and the icing sugar will start to absorb into the batter, and then you're going to liberally dust it again.
It's really important to double dust your cookies with your icing sugar. This really helps the cookies to rise up.
And into the oven.
These need to bake for 10 to 12 minutes or until they're golden brown. You'll want to bake 1 tray at a time so that the heat is direct on that single tray of cookies. If you try and bake multiple, you won't get the proper rise and that nice cakiness that we're looking for in this cookie.
While they're still warm, transfer your Savoiardi onto a cooling rack. This will help the bottom stay a little bit crisp. You can make these a few days in advance and store them in an airtight container.
If you're in a pinch, you can use store-bought Savoiardi biscuits, but homemade will always taste better.
For the crema for our tiramisu, you want to separate 5 eggs. Just like with the Savoiardi, you want to make sure you're not getting any egg yolks in the egg white. To your egg yolks, add half a cup, 100 grams of sugar. And we'll whisk this together until it's really light and fluffy. You can do this with a stand mixer, a hand mixer, or even by hand using a whisk. Make sure you're scraping down the sides of your bowl so all of the egg yolk gets mixed in. The egg yolks will have tripled in size when they're ready. You'll know they're done because when you lift out your whisk, it will leave a ribbon trail on the top of your egg yolks. Add in 500 grams, 2 1/4 cups of room temperature mascarpone cheese.
You want your mascarpone to be at room temperature so that it easily incorporates into your eggs.
And start whisking together. Once the egg yolks and the mascarpone have completely combined, it's time to whisk up our egg whites.
Make sure you're using really fresh eggs for this recipe. You'll want to use pasteurized eggs because we're not cooking it.
If you're concerned about eating raw egg whites, you can whisk this on top of a double boiler for a few minutes until it starts to heat up. Make sure your temperature is at medium-low heat so it doesn't cook the egg whites. Then continue to whisk until they form stiff peaks. Once the egg whites are nice and stiff and you can turn the bowl over just like this and they don't fall out, that's when we're ready to add it to our egg yolk mixture. Add in about a quarter of your egg whites to the egg yolk and cheese mixture. We're not so worried about losing the air at this point, just like with the biscuits. This just helps to lighten up the mixture so that when we fold in the egg whites, it's much smoother. Once all of that egg white has been combined, add in the rest of the egg whites and gently fold them in. I find the easiest way to fold is by slicing down the middle of my bowl and then swooping up around the bottom edge back to the center. You'll want to continue folding until all of the egg whites have been incorporated. You don't want to see any little bits of white. All we need to do is assemble. To a small container, add a quarter cup, 50 grams of sugar. To this, add 300 milliliters, 1¼ cups of really strong coffee. I've used 2 shots of espresso and topped it up with a little bit of hot water. Then add in about 2 tablespoons, 30 milliliters of the alcohol of your choice.
I'm using dark rum in my tiramisu, but this is a really customizable flavor. You can use Marsala wine, you can use whiskey, hazelnut liqueur, whatever flavors you prefer. You can even leave out the alcohol completely.
Stir that until all of the sugar has dissolved. If you're using the homemade Savoiardi biscuits, you want to be quite quick with the dip. So with the sugar side down, you'll want to dip 1, 2, flip, and out. If you're using store-bought Savoiardi or Ladyfingers, you'll want to dip for about 2 to 3 seconds per side. Let's dip another one. 1, 2, flip, and out. You can use whatever size pan you want for this. I'm using a 9x13 with high sides so that I get a couple of nice layers of tiramisu. Once your bottom layer is completely covered in the biscuits, it's time to add in some of our crema. This recipe makes about 2 layers in this size pan, so I'm using half of the crema now. Spread it out so that it's nice and smooth and even. Then it's time to add our second layer of biscuits. My Nonna always said to do them in the opposite direction of the first one, just like I would with a lasagna. This gives structural integrity to your tiramisu. Once you've finished your second layer of biscuits, add the remaining crema on top. Smooth it out until it's nice and even. To finish it off, give it a really healthy dusting of unsweetened cocoa powder. I like to do this before putting the tiramisu in the fridge because the cocoa powder starts to get absorbed into that crema and it adds almost an icing finish on the top. I know you'll enjoy this authentic Italian tiramisu.
Tiramisu is always best when it's left for the flavors to mingle and marry. So make sure to make this the day ahead of serving and store it in the refrigerator. If you're looking for a really old traditional Italian trifle, you have to try my Nonna's zuppa inglese. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button down below. And while you're there, make sure to subscribe because I come out with a new video every single week. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you next time.